The sandwich slipped from her lap, crashing onto the floor of the diner in Boise, Idaho. The cruel laughter of three young men erupted. "What kind of soldier drops their food like that?" one sneered. "America must be scraping the bottom of the barrel." Sergeant Clara Mitchell, a wheelchair-bound veteran after a heroic act in Fallujah, froze. Her wrist still bore the red, white, and blue paracord bracelet. 30 minutes later, the roar of Humvees shook the ground as an entire army unit surrounded the diner. Who called them, and why were they here? All right, my dear audience, brace yourselves for a story that'll leave you speechless. Take a second to like this video and subscribe, but only if you truly connect with what I'm putting out here, and drop a comment below to let me know where you're watching from and what time it is for you. It's always thrilling to see someone joining us from all corners of the world. Every morning, as the clock strikes 7:45, the first rays of sunlight spill gold across Boise's Main Street. Sergeant Clara Mitchell, 42, quietly rolls her wheelchair through the wooden door of Rosie's diner. The chair hums softly, like the rhythm of a wordless song, blending with the jingle of the bell above the door. Clara's upper body, forged like tempered steel through years of grueling military training and 6 years battling her own flesh, stands as a living testament to an unyielding will. Her hands, sinewy and scarred, guide the wheels with the precision of a combat engineer who once disarmed bombs under Iraq's blazing skies. But today, in her deep brown eyes, a fleeting weariness flickers. It's as if her soul is bracing against invisible winds. Clara never boasts of her past. Her presence, silent yet majestic, tells a story of days spent on the razor's edge of life and death. On her left wrist, a paracord bracelet, red, white, and blue, clings tightly to her skin. It's not mere decoration, but a symbol of vows etched into her heart. It's a fragment of memory from Fallujah, where she traded her legs to save 4 soldiers from the Grim Reaper's grasp in a roadside bomb blast in 2007. In the pocket of her faded khaki jacket, a neatly folded letter, its edges worn, carries a general's words of gratitude. She rarely opens it, not out of forgetfulness, but because each line cuts like a knife, reopening old wounds. That letter is her shield, a small flame warming her through days when her soul feels frozen. Clara keeps it close, just as she guards her dignity against curious or pitying stares. Rosie's diner, with its warm wooden walls and the rich aroma of coffee, is where Clara finds a sliver of peace. The tables, draped in red and white checkered cloths, the tilted frames of old photos, and the gentle twang of country music from the radio craft, a miniature Boise, familiar as a breath. Rosie, the owner, a middle-aged woman with her hair in a high bun and a radiant smile, always greets Clara with unwavering sincerity. "Morning, Clara. The usual." Rosie's voice rings out, warm as the sunlight streaming through the window. Clara nods, her lips curving into a cautious smile, her gaze softening briefly. "Black coffee, sandwich, thanks," she replies, her voice low but clear, as if reminding herself she still belongs here. She rolls to her favorite corner, where soft light from the window embraces the weathered wooden table, offering wordless comfort. But today, the air in the diner feels different. Something heavy, stifling, hangs like an unseen cloud. Clara senses it, though she cannot name it. Within her, a faint whisper stirs, warning that this day will not pass smoothly. She breathes deeply, trying to dispel the feeling, but her heart, once pounding fiercely amid bomb smoke, now trembles with vague unease. Clara is no stranger to challenges. 6 years in a wheelchair have taught her that battlefields aren't just distant deserts. They're also everyday moments when dignity is put on trial. She brushes the bracelet lightly, her fingers tracing the tightly woven cords, as if drawing strength from the days she stood tall, shoulders clad in uniform, eyes locked on danger. Clara doesn't know that, in mere minutes, this small diner will become the stage for a different kind of battle, not of bullets, but of dignity. She doesn't know that the taunts about to erupt will ignite an emotional storm, pulling the entire community into her story. For now, she prepares silently, like a warrior before the fight, with her sandwich and coffee as companions. Today, Clara will need more than physical strength. She'll need the heart of someone who faced death yet chose to live, to love, and to believe in the good. A heart that refuses to break, no matter the odds. Clara Mitchell rolls her wheelchair across the worn wooden floor of Rosie's diner. Each turn of the wheels is a steady rhythm, like the heartbeat of a warrior who's never surrendered. She heads to her favorite corner, where Boise's sunlight spills gold through the window, illuminating the oak-lined streets. That gentle light, like an invisible embrace, always makes her feel she belongs here, if only for a moment. The small wooden table, its edges softened by time, is where she finds a sliver of peace amid the waves of her inner turmoil. Today, the tray of food on her lap feels heavier than usual, not from its weight, but from a vague premonition pressing against her chest. She carefully balances the tray. A steaming cup of coffee sits beside a warm sandwich. But then, a loose floorboard, hidden beneath the polished wood, blocks her path. The wheel catches, the chair jerks sharply. Clara catches her breath. The tray tilts. The sandwich slides from her lap, hitting the freshly mopped floor with a soft thud, loud enough to cut through the dreamy country music in the diner. "Damn it," Clara mutters, her voice hoarse, as if scolding herself. She leans down, her movements awkward but determined, trying to retrieve the now soiled sandwich. Her fingers, etched with deep scars from the Fallujah blast years ago, the explosion that stole her legs and a piece of her soul, tremble. Not from weakness, but from memory. Each scar is a story. Each touch is a confrontation with herself. From a nearby table, a sharp, cold laugh slices through the diner's stillness, like a knife through silence. 3 young men, barely in their 20s, lounge arrogantly in designer hoodies and gleaming sneakers, their eyes piercing and cruel, fix on Clara. The tallest, his wrist flashing an expensive watch, smirks. His crooked smile drips with contempt. "Nice moves, soldier lady," he calls, his mocking tone cutting like a blade. "They let you carry a gun?" His words, like a bullet, pierce the air, freezing the other patrons. Forks hover mid-air, gazes dart away. The snickering laughs of his 2 companions, like hounds baying in a pack, egg on the leader. One slaps the table. A soda glass rattles, as if underscoring the cruelty of their jest. Within Clara, a silent storm churns. She sits upright, her jaw clenched so tightly her face feels taut, as if holding back a scream. Her eyes, deep and scarred by pain, stare straight ahead, refusing to respond. She can't let them see her hurt, not for their sake, but for her own, because of the long nights she swore she'd never break, no matter how the world turned its back. But her heart, once pounding fiercely amid bomb smoke, now stings. Not from the taunts, but from loneliness. The diner, once a haven, now feels like an arena. She's a lone gladiator before a silent crowd. The averted gazes of other patrons, A middle-aged man burying his face in a newspaper, a young woman fidgeting with her phone, are like invisible knives, reminding her that not everyone sees her scars as medals. Clara breathes deeply. Her breath trembles but holds firm. She reaches for the sandwich scrap, her fingers brushing the cold floor, striving to preserve her dignity. But in her mind, memories flash. The deafening blast in Fallujah, the panicked faces of the soldiers she pulled from death's brink. She paid with her legs, with dreams she once held, so they could live. And now, amid the mocking laughter, she wonders, was it worth it? The question, sharp as a blade, tightens her chest. But then, she touches the red, white, and blue bracelet on her wrist. The tightly woven cords, rough and unyielding, remind her of her vow, to live no matter what. The diner falls silent, but it's not the silence of respect. It's the silence of those who choose to stand aside, leaving Clara to face her battle alone. She doesn't blame them. She's used to fighting solo. But deep within, a tiny spark of hope still burns, that someone, just one person, will see her not as a woman in a wheelchair, but as a warrior, a mother, a soul that never yields. The taunts didn't stop. They grew sharper, bolder, like thorns piercing deep into Clara Mitchell's resolve. The leader of the young men, his tall figure striking as he stood, strode toward Clara's corner table with a swagger radiating arrogance. His voice, now louder, sliced through the warm air of Rosie's diner like a blade. "What's with that patriotic bracelet? You a war hero or just playing dress-up?" His words, dripping with sarcasm, were like acid drops sizzling on the wooden floor. His friends burst into laughter. The sound, shrill and grating, echoed across the diner's wooden walls. One of them, slouched in a designer hoodie, mimicked Clara's attempt to pick up her fallen sandwich. His hands trembled in an exaggerated, malicious parody. The gesture was a grotesque caricature. Their laughter swelled, like a tidal wave drowning the soft clink of coffee cups. Clara's hand froze mid-air. Her scarred fingers hovered over the crumpled sandwich on her lap. It slipped again, hitting the floor with a faint thud, as if mirroring her sinking heart. The laughter exploded, a chorus of contempt that seemed to drain the room's air. Inside Clara, a silent storm churned. Her chest tightened, not from fear, but from the weight of a familiar pain. A pain born not of bombs or shrapnel, but of the indifference of those who'd never grasp her scars. She wanted to scream, to tell them of Fallujah, of the 4 lives she snatched from death's grip, of the nights she woke in sweat, haunted by the blast that stole her legs. But she didn't. Clara Mitchell didn't beg for respect. She sat taller, her jaw clenched, her eyes staring past the sneering faces. To flinch would be to let them win. She'd fought too hard, lost too much, to grant them that power. Around her, the diner's patrons shifted uneasily. Their discomfort was a silent betrayal. A middle-aged woman, her face half hidden behind a glossy menu, gripped its edges tightly, as if shielding herself from the scene. A businessman in a crisp suit pounded his phone, his fingers frantic, his gaze averted, as if Clara's humiliation were a contagion he could escape. Their silence hurt more than the taunts. It was the silence of a world that moved on, leaving Clara alone to bear her sacrifices. Her heart, forged in the crucible of war, ached, not for herself, but for the truth they refused to see. That her wheelchair wasn't a mark of weakness, but a badge of battles won, of lives saved, of a courage most could never fathom. Yet, amid the sea of apathy, 2 souls stood out. their quiet presence like beacons in Clara's storm. Sarah, the teenage waitress, lingered near the counter. Her trembling hands clutched a coffee pot. Her wide eyes darted between Clara and the mocking group, empathy and helplessness etched on her youthful face. She wanted to act, to speak, but fear held her back. Her cheeks flushed with shame at witnessing cruelty she couldn't stop. Then there was a 9-year-old girl, her Wonder Woman t-shirt slightly oversized, sitting at a nearby table. Her round eyes, sparkling with curiosity, locked onto Clara, not with pity, but with a child's unfiltered awe. To her, Clara wasn't a woman in a wheelchair. She was a hero, a figure carved from the stories her parents whispered of sacrifice and bravery. Sarah broke free from hesitation. Her sneakers squeaked as she hurried to Clara's table. She placed a fresh sandwich on the worn wooden surface, its warmth a small act of defiance against the surrounding coldness. "On the house," she whispered, her voice barely audible. Her face burned red with embarrassment at the diner's failure to intervene. Clara nodded. A spark of gratitude flickered in her eyes, but her appetite had vanished, swallowed by the bitterness rising in her throat. Her hand slipped into her jacket pocket. Her fingers brushed the faded letter from the general. Its worn edges anchored her, a tether to the woman she'd been, the soldier who faced death without blinking. The letter wasn't just paper. It was proof of her worth, a quiet reminder that her sacrifices mattered, even if the world forgot. Clara's heart churned, a battlefield of pride and pain. She didn't want pity, nor applause. She wanted what she'd fought for: dignity, the right to exist without being a punchline. The taunts echoed in her mind, each word a spark threatening to ignite her carefully guarded calm. But she held firm, her breathing slow and steady, her fingers clutching the letter's edge. She was more than their mockery, more than the wheelchair, more than the scars. She was Clara Mitchell, a warrior whose strength lay not in her legs, but in her unbreakable spirit. And though the diner's silence cut deep, she knew this moment wasn't the end of her story. Dear audience, take a moment to relax or grab a glass of water, then keep listening for the surprising twists ahead. And let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is for you. It's always thrilling to see someone joining us from all corners of the world. Comment 1 if you find this story gripping, so we can keep bringing you more incredible tales. Clara Mitchell sits there, in the quiet corner of Rosie's diner. Boise's sunlight slips through the window, painting warm, golden streaks across the weathered wooden table. The sandwich before her, still faintly warm, is now a foreign object. She forces herself to hold it. Her fingers grip lightly, trying to swallow each bite to cling to a shred of normalcy amid the storm of mockery echoing from the nearby table. Each laugh, each taunt from the young men pierces her pride like needles. Yet Clara doesn't crumble. She can't. Not for them, but for herself. The woman who stood amid Fallujah's smoke and fire, who traded her legs to save 4 lives. She chews slowly. The sandwich tastes bland, as if the pain in her heart has stripped away all flavor. Suddenly, her phone buzzes, a small hum, sharp enough to cut through her thoughts. The screen lights up, displaying Avery alongside a photo of her 24-year-old daughter in military fatigues. Her face is resolute, but her eyes brim with love. Clara draws a breath. Her fingers tremble slightly as they touch the answer button. She keeps her voice low, almost a whisper. as if afraid her words might shatter the fragile shell guarding her heart. "I'm okay, sweetheart," she says, her tone deep but straining for calm. Yet deep down, she knows the words aren't true. Avery's voice on the other end is sharp, urgent. It slices through her mother's pretense like a knife. "Mom, Sarah's brother sent me a video of what's happening. This isn't okay." Avery's words, though miles away, ignite like a flare. They awaken the anger Clara has fought to suppress. Clara closes her eyes for a moment. Her breath slows, as if trying to pull herself back from the abyss of humiliation. She's grown used to petty insults, pitying glances, moments when she must remind herself she's still Clara Mitchell, a warrior. "I'm okay," she repeats, her voice soft but quivering. She tries to soothe her daughter, as she once calmed young soldiers in the battlefield. But Avery won't let her mother hide. Her voice hardens, carrying the resolve of a young soldier who learned from her mother how to face injustice. "Where are you sitting?" Clara opens her eyes, gazing at the familiar table. Sunlight glints off the red, white, and blue bracelet on her wrist. "My usual spot," she replies, her voice faint. A sharp premonition grazes her heart. Something monumental is coming. "Don't move," Avery says, her voice firm as stone. Then the line goes silent. Clara sets the phone down. The screen darkens, reflecting her face, a face etched with hardship, bearing the invisible scars of war and the silent battles that followed. She senses the gaze of the group's leader, sitting a few tables away. He smirks mockingly. "Calling for backup, old lady," he sneers, his arrogant tone cutting like a blade. His friends snicker. The sound grates like nails on a chalkboard. One, perhaps less eager, glances toward the door. His eyes betray a flicker of unease, as if sensing their jest is nearing consequences. But Clara doesn't look at them. She won't allow herself weakness. She draws a long breath. It trembles but holds steady, like the breaths she took before disarming a bomb in Fallujah. She unwraps the sandwich. Her movements are slow, methodical, like a ritual to preserve her dignity. Each bite is a silent declaration. I'm still here. I'm still me. But within, another battle rages. The young men's taunts are like stones hurled into the calm lake of her soul. They ripple with pain. For a fleeting moment, she wonders if the world has truly forgotten what she did, what she lost. Then she touches the bracelet on her wrist. Its tightly woven cords are a reminder. She vowed to live, to be strong, even if the world turns away. The laughter continues, but Clara no longer hears it. She eats, small bites, her gaze resolute. She's preparing for a new battle, one that needs no guns, only the unbreakable heart of a soldier. In that moment, Clara doesn't know that, in just 30 minutes, the roar of military engines will shatter Boise's silence, bringing justice and the honor she deserves. For now, she has only herself, the sandwich, and the belief that her dignity, though tested, will never break. She is Clara Mitchell. She will not let their mockery define her. 30 minutes after Avery's call, Boise's morning air trembles. The ground quakes faintly, as if the small city's heart beats harder. The low roar of military engines fills the space, a symphony of power and will. It tears through the stillness of Rosie's diner. Through the window, fogged by early dew, vehicles emerge like apparitions from a war dream. 2 armored Humvees, their tires grinding the pavement. A desert tan tactical truck, silently claiming the parking lot, blocking every exit. Inside, the young men freeze. Their arrogant laughter, once ringing like gunfire, dies out, snuffed like a flame under rain. The leader, his wrist still flashing a gaudy watch, mutters, his voice trembling, "What the hell is this?" His lips tighten, his eyes dart, seeking escape, but finding only the truth advancing. The diner's chatter stops. It's as if the world holds its breath. Spoons clatter softly onto plates. Patrons' eyes glue to the window, where 14 soldiers in full combat gear step from the vehicles. They move with the precision of a machine forged over years, each step synchronized, forming a perimeter around the building. No haste, no noise, only the cold discipline radiating from every motion. The door's bell jingles, a small but piercing sound, like a herald of irreversible change. A tall figure enters, a captain. Her weathered face bears the marks of distant battlefields, but her eyes, sharp and blazing, carry the gaze of Avery Mitchell. She stands there, in a crisp uniform, her shoulder insignia glint, a living flame in the deathly quiet. In Clara's heart, a tidal wave of emotion surges. She sits there, in her wheelchair, her companion for 6 years. Her hands grip the wooden table's edge, her eyes locked on her daughter's form. Her heart pounds, not from fear, but from a pride laced with pain. She'd tried to shield Avery from battles, both on warfields and in human hearts. Yet now, Avery stands there, not just her daughter, but a soldier, a protector, a torch, illuminating the dignity Clara thought the world had forgotten. She wants to speak, to tell her daughter not to make a scene, but her throat tightens, choked by the weight of this moment. Avery scans the room. Her gaze, keen as a blade, sweeps every face, every table, before resting on Clara. Without hesitation, she strides forward. Each step echoes on the wooden floor like a proclamation. 2 steps from Clara's table, she halts, stands tall, and raises her hand in a military salute, crisp, perfect, as if carved from stone. "Sergeant Clara Mitchell," she says, her voice resonant, powerful, piercing the diner's silence. "Captain Avery Mitchell and Bravo Company, 3rd Battalion, reporting for duty." Her words, like a hammer strike, shatter any lingering scorn in the air. The young men pale. Their faces collapse, their arrogance dissolving like mist under sunlight. The leader bows his head, his shoulders slump, as if shrinking before the truth's weight. Clara feels the eyes of those around her, yet she doesn't look at them. She sees only Avery, sees her daughter's eyes shimmering with a love and respect she thought lived only in memory. Within, she wrestles between pride and fear, fear that this moment, though glorious, will revive old wounds. Those nights she woke to the echo of explosions in her mind. But then, she breathes deeply. Her breath trembles, but holds firm, as it did before each mission in Fallujah. She needs no apologies, no pity. She needs only for the world to remember she is Clara Mitchell, the one who paid in blood and bone so others could live. Avery steps closer. Her eyes sweep the room once more, pausing on the now cowering young men. Her voice, steady yet commanding, rings out like a verdict. "This diner," she declares, "holds a woman who deserves your respect. A combat engineer who lost her legs to save 4 lives in Fallujah. She is my mother." Her words, like a gust of wind, stir the hearts of everyone in the room. Clara sits there. Her eyes glisten. not with tears, but with the light of recognition, of love, of dignity restored. In that moment, she is more than a veteran. She is a mother, a hero, an unyielding soul. The soldiers line up along the diner's wooden walls. Each one salutes Clara, forming an impromptu honor guard. The leader of the young men slumps in his chair. His smugness vanishes. His friends bow their heads. One mutters, "We didn't know." Avery kneels beside her mother's wheelchair, placing her unit's patch on the table next to the half-eaten sandwich. "Private Lopez's sister enlisted because of you," she says softly, yet her words echo in the stillness. "She heard your story." Sarah, the waitress, wipes tears as she watches. The girl in the Wonder Woman t-shirt breaks free from her father's hand. She runs to Clara, clutching a crumpled drawing of a woman in a wheelchair, a cape billowing behind. "You're my hero," she says, pressing the drawing into Clara's hands. Clara's eyes glisten. She carefully tucks the drawing beside the letter. As Avery guides her mother toward the door, the soldiers part. They salute in unison. Patrons rise. Some place hands over their hearts. The businessman sets his phone down. He nods with respect. The young men sit silent, heads lowered. Their shame is palpable. Outside, under Idaho's clear blue sky, Clara looks at her daughter. "You didn't have to do this," she says. "Yes, we did," Avery replies. If you believe sacrifice deserves honor, write "Honor the Brave" in the comments and subscribe to Veteran Best Stories, where silent heroes' tales are told. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is for you. It's always exciting to see someone join us from across the globe. Comment 1 if you love this story, so we can keep bringing you more incredible tales.